Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome back to the NOFO Live podcast, where I, Sunita, along with my co-host Tracy, we hop on every Friday and chat about everything North Fork. It is sunny, cold, total winter on the North Fork. Many places are closed, and everybody's trying to figure out their best version of winter life here. Which perfectly ties into our guest today, which is the North Fork Polar Bears, and they have such a fun way, cold, but fun way of surviving the winter. Speaking of fun, yesterday, NOFO Live, Tracy and I had a vision board workshop at 𝗕𝗏𝗡 Studios that's owned by Verona and Melissa, and it was such a, I don't want to use the word fun, it was such a beautiful time spent figuring out and focusing on a vision and a plan for 2025. I made a board last night, and I am surprised. I mean, I'll share later in stories and stuff. It looks completely different from what I thought my board would look like. But we'll talk more about that when Tracy and I both share that she finally figured out her word, and it's different from what she started with. So that was really fun. And also, 𝗕𝗏𝗡 is such a beautiful space to spend time in and let your creative side and your creative juices flow. So it was really fun. Good morning. How are you, Patricia? Oh, I see some tech difficulties happening. Some circles are spinning, but good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Sunita?
I'm good. I'm hitting accept on both Tracy's and the 𝗕cie𝗁𝗵 account, but neither of them have joined. And then again, this is always the Instagram gods deciding who joins the live.
I'm glad the gods have let me join.
I love your gear. I'm glad you came to represent.
I am here to represent. You know how passionately I feel about this community of people. What a difference it makes.
Tracy, for some reason, Tracy, it says 𝗕cie𝗁𝗵 is unable to join. Maybe because I've accepted you too many times. I don't know. And same with Kim. Again, it says unable to join. So let me see if I can send a request and see if that's you. Oh, they're in, although it says unable to join. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I don't know what took so long.
I don't know what took so long. Good morning. I mean, I was going to talk about the vision board, but we can come back to that unless you want to share something about yesterday, Tracy, just quick before we jump in.
Yet again, it was so completely surprising to me as to how it turned out. And when I started to lay everything down, I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. And then at the end, I was like, I love it so much.
Same.
So
I had a vision.
A lot of us did two sides. So I did, personal and business. So business has no color whatsoever.
Well, when I was flipping through the magazines, Patricia, I did see some polar bears and I wanted to cut and put them in there. I didn't cut it. But then, as it turned out, it didn't end up on the board, but neither did yoga. And I don't know if it was Verona or somebody said to me, if it's something you're already doing, then it doesn't need to show up on your vision board.
Exactly. You've already manifested it.
Exactly. So there's no polar, but there's no sunset. Shockingly, there's no sunset on my board.
And there's no yoga. That already too, Sunita.
Exactly. Okay, let's hop in. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me today.
All right, we'll start with you, Patricia, if you just want to introduce who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump to Kim, and then we'll talk about all the good stuff.
Sure. My name is Patricia, and I'm a co-founder of the North Fork Polar Bears. I do many other things in life too, but we're really here to talk about the bears and what this community is up to. We have our big plunge coming up next weekend. We're super excited, and I know we're going to get into that. But Kim, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Kim Barbour. I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension Marine Program. Specifically, I'm the director of our Back to the Bays initiative. And that's just one of the many programs we do over at Cornell, but it's a great way focused on stewardship and involvement, getting people involved and groups and partners involved in our habitat restoration and shellfish restoration work. We do a lot of different workshops that the polar bears have been involved in now too. And we're so thrilled to be returning beneficiary of the Grand North Fork Polar Plunge coming up next Sunday. So yeah.
Yeah. And Sunita, can I add one
Of
thing? Because I
course.
just wanted to add our mission, of course, we're very passionate about getting in the cold water and plunging and sharing that with everybody. But our mission is really to create community and joy on the North Fork and take care of the waters that we swim in. So I just wanted to add that because it's really important that Kim is here with us today.
Which I feel like aligns very well with Tracy and my mission my mission, which is to create a community. Except you do it in the water, and of course
Exactly.
it transcends past that. I want to go back to Bays. Kim, can you elaborate a little bit more about? I know you said the CC Marine program has so many different components. I know I'm in one of them, which is the SPAC program. But can you expand a little bit more about what the Back to Bays initiative is?
Sure. So, as our SPAT program, Kim T has been running that. It's their 25th anniversary, actually. So, that was it's such a great program to involve people in growing their own oysters. So, with Back to the Bays, which it's actually our 10-year anniversary. So, two big anniversary years for Cornell. And basically, it's looking at how great the SPAT program was and how do we get the public and people involved in the other elements of work that we do at Cornell Marine Programs. So that was the whole kind of driving force behind this, was creating those pathways to stewardship and involvement. A lot of my colleagues and staff, they're all, brilliant scientific people, but that doesn't always translate, to the public. So Back to the Base is kind of a good conduit to get people involved and to understand on a more, less technical level, but equally as important level to, actually get involved and make a difference. And we really find the more people understand about, what's going on with our marine and coastal ecosystem, and then feel empowered to actually do something about it, that's been kind of the most rewarding aspect of Back to the Bays. And of course, getting to work with great partner organizations locally and organizations like yours as well. That's just, broadcasting and getting it all out there too. So it's kind of a beautiful synergistic kind of effort. And I'm so proud and happy to get to be part of it. And my favorite part is, quite frankly, the community as well, and getting to work with everyone and passing along our knowledge and passion for what we're doing with Cornell Marine Program for
So
sure.
at one of the plunges, you had done like a mini workshop of this grass restoration. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because are some of the funds that are going to be raised for this plunge go towards that, or what does the money go towards?
Yes, absolutely. So thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, we had we call them our Marine Meadows workshops. So we do a lot of coastal habitat restoration, but we're also doing marine habitat restoration. And eelgrass is a submerged aquatic vegetation. So it's a plant species that's rooted in the bottom, and it completely is submerged its entire, tidal cycle and life cycle. So people get confused sometimes. They're like, oh, we have a lot of eelgrass on the beach. We're like, that's definitely not eelgrass. That might be our marsh grass and other very important, coastal species. But as you could imagine, eelgrass being an underwater plant species, it's hard for people to wrap their head around it unless you're a polar bear or a boater or out there in the water and under the water. You might have never even seen eelgrass, but it really is such a keystone species in our overall, marine ecosystem. It provides essential habitat for a lot of our commercially and recreationally important finfish and shellfish species. And again, it's a good carbon sink. It takes in a lot of carbon, and of course just provides that great foraging habitat kind of, anchor sediment in place, so it helps with coastal erosion and things like that, even offshore. So the idea with Marine Meadows is to create an opportunity to bring the actual eelgrass plants onshore and then have participants and volunteers help us weave them into these biodegradable discs that we then go dive and plant in the bay. So it's some underwater gardening, but with an assist from the public who, if you're not dive certified and can't, obviously it creates a little bit of a logistic issue to get involved with eelgrass restoration in any other way. So again, we came up with this model that really works from a restoration standpoint and also a community involvement standpoint. And proceeds from last year's Polar Plunge enabled this to happen. So we were so grateful for everybody's support last year. And we're going to keep that going this year with proceeds raised. We'll see how much we come up with, and then we kind of structure a work plan accordingly. But the more exciting thing is with this year, we've finally, it took a year, but we had to line up a lot of permits and permissions. We've been working closely with Southold Town and the trustees, who have been great, and DEC, to get permits in place to actually do a new oyster reef right in our backyard in Southold in Cedar Beach Creek. So fingers crossed, we have one level of permit to get through still, but it's all looking good. So ideally, by this summer, we'll be hopefully offering another workshop to our polar bear friends and to the public to help us build an oyster reef and then continue on some of this habitat restoration projects as well.
That's awesome, Kim. Awesome, Kim. Okay, Patricia, I know we've had you on the show before and we've talked about the polar bears, but can you, before we jump into the plunge, no pun intended, can you talk a little bit about the community and the plunges that people do generally, whether they're daily or the group plunge on Sundays in Orient?
Sure. So, I think it's great to I'll quickly talk about how this group formed. There were a few of us out here on the North Fork who had solitary practices of going into the cold water. And during COVID, I think it became even more important, like as a way of like being present during a very difficult time. And then what started to happen is we began to find each other. And once we found each other, we said, oh my God, we should know each other. We should keep each other safe. We should meet up and make it more fun. And there were so many people on the sidelines once we started doing it together who were saying, oh my God, you guys are crazy. Never, no way. I'll never do it. I'm going to die. It's not for me. It's for you.
I'm going to die is like a theme that goes through most people's. I'm crazy and I'm going to die are, I think, two common things that go through people's mind that have never done it.
Exactly. And sometimes that happens in real life too, right?
Well,
You're like, oh
not the dying part. The crazy part, yes.
Not the dying part, but too much. So like many people would be on the sidelines, and then we would just say like, never say never, like join us. And so like over time, and people like jumping in literally and saying, okay, I'm gonna try it. We've gone from being like a small group of 10 to 12 people to now we're almost 200 people on our WhatsApp chat. And what I've seen is that, that first plunge can be such a revelation for people. And for many people, it can be life-changing because there's this huge fear. You say, okay, but I'm going to do it anyway. You go in and you discover that, oh my God, not only did I die, but I really loved it. And it's very joyful. And then you start to meet other people in the community, and it's a fantastic group of people that comes together. We now have a community swim every Sunday at 10 a.m. We light a fire, we bring warm drinks, people get to know each other, and it's really wonderful and magical. And then the plunge was kind of an offshoot of this. We kept saying, what else can this like terrific group of people do for the community now that we have our community? And that was the origin of how we first decided to do a fundraiser.
And this is the third year.
The third year, yes. Yes, we're super excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you've gotten to not only develop your own polar bear community, but also then do something good for the larger North Fork community.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so the funds that so obviously this is a fundraiser, right? Yeah. And people sign up to plunge at a nominal fee, and then they can get sponsors or they can get donations. Talk a little bit more about how the fundraising aspect works, and then how people can sign up.
Wonderful. Well, I wanted to share who our beneficiaries are this year. We are definitely partnering with Cornell's Marine Program as one beneficiary, and our other beneficiary is CAST. And I think we all know how much work CAST does for our community in terms of serving people who may need a little assistance with education, with lights, with food, with so many ways. So these are our two key beneficiaries. And how you can sign up. So we have a registration website, which Sunita, I'm sure you'll share in the chat. And so when you go to that, you can sign up as an individual plunger. We have 3 different levels that you can sign up and join. We have a $25 registration, a $50 registration, and $125. And with each one, you get more and more wonderful swag, like this hat.
Oh my God, I think I have 3 versions of the hat because you've had one every year.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
We have
yes.
a new hat this year, so every year is something different. I'm not wearing it, but I'm super excited about it. And so you register, and then we have something new this year where we have the ability for people to create teams. So
Which
you can create a team.
NOFO Live did create
Yeah.
one, so we do have a
Yes.
couple. We have a team.
And what that means, if anybody on this call wants to sign up to register today, you can join Sunita's team on NOFO Live. And then Sunita, maybe you've set a goal for how much you want to raise on your team.
$500. That's what Tracy and I set as our goal to raise
Wonderful.
fundraising.
Wonderful. So say you have 5 or 10 people or many, many more sign up on your team. You'll see a list of people on your team, and they're all fundraising to your goal. And every individual also has their, they're going to get individual credit for what they're doing. So you can sign up as a team. You can sign up as an individual. You can also look at all the people who are signed up to plunge, and you can sponsor their plunge if you want.
Right. So you can either join a team or you can donate to support a plunger that's already plunging, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it really helps as a plunger to know that you've got a team of people behind you cheering you on.
Well, yeah. I like it makes you feel like I was joking yesterday at the event we were at, talking about if somebody doesn't want to do the plunge, but if people have donated behind $100 to them, then it just motivates you even more to show up and go. But that being said, I do want to make a comment about when you normally do these plunges every week or every day. What I love, and now that I've been part of it for a few years, is there never is any pressure to go into the water. And I love how the community is so supportive and encouraging, but also letting that experience flow at its own pace. But obviously at this plunge, this group plunge, where people are coming mostly for fundraising and mostly to support, it's an entirely different experience, right? I mean, poor Tracy, she can't seem to hop on. I don't know what's going on with the phone, but she did the plunge last year at the fundraiser, and they held hands, a couple of women, and they all literally ran in screaming and ran out, which is a beautiful experience, but very different from a more zen, peaceful. And you can speak to that more, Patricia, because you offer these Zen retreats as well in the water, correct?
I do. I think one of my favorite things in life is introducing people to the transformative power of water. And the North Fork Polar Bears is one way, because I really believe that cold water asks more of you, but it also gives you so much once you go in and you cross that barrier, if you have one. And then I do lead retreats in other parts of the world.
Like Greece. Like Greece in warm water.
And I have a new one this year in Turkey, which is going to be so incredible.
I might have
fan of the Aegean Sea, so I've built an experience around that. Anybody can DM me. I'm happy to give you more information. But Sunita, I wanted to just build on your point. So the day of the plunge. So yes, everybody's welcome to experience the cold water in whatever way works for them. We always encourage people to go in, and if you can, try to get the water up to your, right here in the back of your neck. And the reason is because that's where your body learns to start warming itself. That's where your vagus nerve is. So it calms you down. Like getting the cold here begins to calm down your heart rate, and it starts to warm yourself. So if you can make it, we encourage that, right? To try to get up to here and just slow your breath down, because it's exciting, especially in a plunge situation. Like everybody's adrenaline is running, but if you can, just get in and slow your breath down. And when you think it's time to get out, try to give it 3 breaths more. But if you want to go into your ankles, if you want to go into your knees, if you want to go into your hips, it's 10 seconds, a minute, it doesn't matter. The point is just join in the community and walk into your comfort zone. On the plunge, you'll have a team of North Fork Polar Bears. They're going to be wearing hats like this. And together our goal is to make it safe and fun for everybody. So we'll be lined up on the beach. You can stand with us and we will walk you in to make sure that you have a really good experience and that it's safe. And if you have questions beforehand, we're there to answer them. We will hold your hand, anybody, and we will take you in because we really believe in this.
Kim, do you plunge?
Yes. So I was just going to build on that because what Patricia's saying, it's true that the polar bears have been so warm and cold and welcoming. And, granted, through my line of work and through my 20 years in this profession so far, I've done, cold water work and diving and different things, but in a wetsuit. So honestly, the whole cold plunge, just going in there. It was new to me. So last year at last year's plunge, that was my first official plunge. I'm trying to get up to my vagus nerve this year. Last year, I made it to about hip, and then kind of was one of those screaming people coming out of the water.
That's
So
okay too. And if that's the
yes,
experience for that day, that's okay.
and there's so many people, so there's no shame involved. I saw people literally dip a toe in, and you know what? That counts, and good for you. Don't
Counts.
push yourself
It
and work
counts.
up to
Well,
it. So maybe next year
I
be
would even
able.
dare to say, I would even dare to say that if you show up and support a plunger and don't even put a toe in, that counts too,
That
because the purpose
absolutely
of this event
does.
is really to raise awareness and to fundraise for both the great
Yeah.
organizations.
Absolutely. And yeah, so there's no shame, and the polar bear community, they're just so supportive. So don't be intimidated as a first time plunger and soon to be second time plunger. I can attest it really is. There's something really kind of magical about it. And obviously, we all have a profound connection to the water in different ways as just living on this island that we're on. So it's again another way to kind of get connected. And if that inspires you to want to give back to the bays more, you can get more involved with us. If it inspires you to do this every Sunday, you could link up with Patricia and the polar bears. But either way, it's such a good community event, and we get so many spectators just coming to cheer people on too, as you mentioned. So we'll have some wonderful food trucks and fire pits, and it'll be a really great experience. We just did a little walkthrough
Yeah.
with the wonderful parks commissioner and the whole Mattituck Park District, who've been so great in hosting the event this year. So we're excited. We think it's going to go really well. Knock on wood. The weather looks a lot better than last year. So anyone who plunged last year, it was a
In the
lot
rain,
standing
in
in the
the
cold
rain.
rain before you went. So it'll be different this year too. Hopefully we won't be soaking wet before we even get to the water. So
Well, what surprised me about last year, I will say this: it was gray, it was cold, it was rainy. I know you guys, it was a beautiful location at Silver Sands, and they have
yes.
fire pits and everything was planned, but the weather did not cooperate at all. So there was no fire, there was no warmth, there was no nothing, and yet so many people
Wonderful
went in.
round.
Like, and
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
if you are willing to go, but that's the power of the community and the
Yeah.
group. And that's how I feel every Sunday that I show up. Because in the beginning, I feel, unless you're an introvert or whatever your process is, you could potentially go alone and do a solo plunge and enjoy that.
Mhm.
For me, showing up to the group plunge really helped get me started on the journey because there was something so, it just made it easy. And I watched other polar bears who are the first time plungers come in with that same hesitation that I had. I put my bathing suit on when I showed up the first time, but I knew in my mind that I was only going to put my toes in. That was my plan. It's like, I'll just put my toes in. But nobody said anything. Everybody just stripped down to their bathing suit and walked in, and I'm thinking, okay, I guess that's what I'm doing. And it was great. And so to see the transformation, and then of course I saw Chris on here a little while ago from the North Fork. I watched his transformation of showing up the first day without a bathing suit, really wanting to go in, and now he's a diehard. I don't know if he goes daily, but I know he does go in Riverhead, correct? So you, Patricia, seen a lot of, and which is why I guess you're unofficially called the mama bear of the polar bear. You've seen a lot of your little cubs transform. So can you talk a little bit more about your experience of, how people have embraced the water?
Sure. I think, as I mentioned earlier, like cold water can be confronting, the humans are meant to be or want to be comfortable all the time, comfortable, cozy, and warm. So the idea of going into cold water for many people is not very appealing, but that's normal. If it feels unappealing to you as a first-time plunger, that's absolutely what your body thinks. Your body is like, I don't think so. But what happens is when you override that and you decide to go for it, anyway, and you go in the water. I've seen so many people, you go in and, you know, after about 30 seconds, like the whole facial expression changes. And people, like, you know, you're out there, there's maybe a seal off in the water, you can hear the water, you hear the wind, you're in nature, and this wonderful connection that happens. So I've seen people say no way, and those people, especially in our, like, there's a daily plunge group that goes every day at 7 a.m. But in that group, I've literally seen people go in for the first time, and then all of a sudden they're going every single day, because it's the discovery of the joy. And it's the discovery that actually you can do a lot more than you think. And you get to meet all these people first thing in the morning, and cold water kind of resets your nervous system too. So you're literally like washing away any stress that you have and starting newly. So did I answer your question, Sunita?
Kind of. But what I was going to say is, yes, there's a group that goes in Orient at 7 a.m. But as the community has grown, there are several different mini groups that
Yes.
go in different towns. I know there's one in Jamesport, and there's one in Southhold. And there are some people that will also go at lunchtime when the sun is up. So you can actually feel warm when you come out. So you will find your tribe, or you will create your own if you do want to become, try this practice.
Absolutely. There's a spin-off of several groups, and that can be like 2 to 5 people that begin to do it in their local area. And everybody's also invited to those smaller groups, because you find that everybody who's in this group loves to share it with other people and loves to take care of people who are doing it for the first time.
And then you have the standard, well, not standard, but the every week group plunges at 10 a.m., usually in Orient, but then depending on the weather or the tides or whatever, sometimes you change location. So what is the best way for people to join and get information about the group? I know you have an Instagram page.
We do have an Instagram page, and if you go into the links on our Instagram page, there's a link to our website, and it's super easy. When you go to our website, it says join us. You just click on that button and you'll be able to, there's a form that you fill out, 3 questions, that's it, super small. And by doing so, we will add you to an email list. And every Sunday by about 9 a.m., we'll send you an email letting you know what the location of that day is. Every Sunday morning, we wake up and we scout the beaches. We pick the one that's going to be the most comfortable, and that means the least wind, the least chop in the water. You know, how can we make it easy and fun for everybody? So go to our website, hit join us, we'll send you a note. And then if you can't do that for any reason, just send us a message on our Instagram, and I'll make sure personally that you can join the group and have everything you need.
Well, and on behalf of all the polar bears and the community at large, I want to give a huge thank you to you and Dav for setting this up every Sunday, for dragging the fire pit, for bringing the firewood, because it does take somebody to sort of take the lead and create this, and your commitment to doing this Sunday after Sunday after Sunday for everybody else, because you both do your individual plunges daily anyway, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing this Sunday really more so for the community, and I can't thank you enough for that. That is so wonderful of you guys to take that time out to do.
Well, thank you, Sunita. And thank you for everything that you give to this community as well, not only as our group of plungers, because you're very active and you volunteer for everything whenever we need someone, but also your work in bringing us all together in this community in ways that, you know, it's like a bigger ocean that you're connecting us
Warmer,
in.
warmer.
Bigger, warmer ocean. You're connecting us in. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's round off the show by just reminding everybody where and when the plunge is.
The plunge is happening next Sunday, January 26th at Veterans Beach in Mattituck. We're making it a fun day. So we'll have a food truck there. We'll have a sauna there. Woo! So for the people who think like, oh my God, want to get warm as quick as possible, this is a beautiful way to get warm before or after.
Or during, because when you bought the sauna before, people have done the run into the sauna, heat up, go back in the water.
Yes, if you're so inspired the day of the plunge that you just want to keep on plunging, and you can do that, you know, we'll facilitate that. we go in the water at exactly 10 a.m. So that's when we're going to sound off the horn and we're all going in together. So I encourage everybody, we're going to be there ready to receive everybody about 8:30 in the morning. So we encourage everybody to get there, be settled, and be ready by 9:30, right? If you come earlier, we have many things for you to do to enjoy yourself. And
any
yes.
tips on what they can bring? I know at bare minimum, I would add some kind of water booties if they want, just because it makes it A, easier to walk on the rocks, and B, prevents that one layer of cold immediately hitting you. What else might you encourage people to bring? Or
Sure. So definitely bring your bathing suit. Don't forget that, because that changes things. But also, one of the biggest things afterwards is to take off your bathing suit and put on dry clothes so you get warm. So make sure that you have your dry clothes there and ready. Sometimes it's really fun to have a robe. Many of us have dry robes, but you can bring a bathrobe that you have over your bathing suit in those minutes right before the plunge so that you're plunge ready. We sound the horn, you drop your robe, and we go in. And then you also have something warm to put on and change, behind, because you'll be on the beach. I would bring a hat. I would bring water shoes, bring a bathing suit, bring a towel or two, one to dry, one to cover yourself if you end up changing on the beach.
flip-flops or shoes, easy shoes to change into right after,
Absolutely.
so you have dry shoes?
Easy shoes, socks. If you're somebody who is in the water already, feel free to bring your gear. If you have light gloves or booties or something else, just bring whatever you're comfortable with. But that's it. I mean, you don't really need much. You don't need a special bathing suit either. This is not a long time in the water, so it's safe just to wear your regular bathing suit.
Yeah, the goal almost is to make sure that when you come out of the water that you can take off. I would almost suggest to women a two-piece bikini, even though it sounds counterintuitive, is actually much better than a full bathing suit because it's easier to take off quicker and just to get into something dry quickly so your body can start to warm up again, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The less you have on, also the more enjoyable the experience is because you have less cold fabric on you. So some people come to the plunge and they bring rash guards and layers of bathing suits and things like that. But you may not be achieving what you want because that just puts more cold, wet things on your skin.
And then you're cold, and you're colder when you come out after. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
But your brain thinks that if you cover yourself, you'll be able to deal with it better. When in reality, the opposite is true. Yeah.
True.
But people always ask me, "Why do you plunge? Why do you plunge?" And I think it's something that you said earlier. I think every time I go in there, or every time I'm called to go in there, is because I need to remind my brain that I can do something that I think I can. So it's really that feeling of mind over matter, or I guess proving to myself, or actually reminding myself that I'm stronger than I think, is what draws me to the cold water every time. So I thank you so much for setting up this community. And I want to say I'm looking forward to the plunge. I'm not looking forward to the cold water per se. But I know Tracy is looking forward to, I don't know if she's going to run in this time or if she's going to try the Zen experience. It'll be what it'll be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sunita, for
Thank you.
having me today.
Thank you, Kim, for coming on. I hope we managed to raise a lot of funds.
Yeah.
Do you do tours at the program? Like you mentioned, people supporting. Can people sign up to be volunteers? How can people help you outside of the plunge?
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, you could. We have a dedicated website, backtothebase.org, and we have a very active event calendar. This is kind of a lower time of year for us, so we're gearing up. We really get stuff going in March in terms of weekly steward sessions and different workshops and efforts we have going on. You could become a Back to the Base steward. It's just $25 contribution a year, and then you get special access to different behind-the-scenes experiences, and you'll be the first to know about opportunities to help us with the oyster reefs and the different projects we have going on. So I would encourage everyone to check that out and follow us on Instagram as well. And yeah, it's really great. We're looking forward to next Sunday. I wanted to thank some of our sponsors too. Another incentive to get your registration if you're planning on plunging. We really are trying to get everyone to register in advance. It just makes it a little logistically easier for us, and that way you could guarantee at certain levels you get access to various vouchers. So Greenport Harbor Brewing Company has provided a beer or non-alcoholic beverage voucher for us, and as has Aldo's, you could get a nice warm beverage, and then Greenport Pilates, right? We have a $20 off a class certificate from them. So again, all incentives to get that registration done early so you could get access to those vouchers. And we thank those generous, sponsors who have supported us as well.
Well, Tracy and I will put the link for our team up if anybody would like to donate or join or donate or join and sponsor any plunger that's, or be a plunger, however you want to be a part of it. Definitely come out. It's going to be a great community event, and we'll see everybody on Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a
Thanks.
good weekend. Sorry, Tracy, I don't know what's going on with your Instagram, but we'll see you next Friday.
Bye.
Bye.